electromagnetic linear induction motors, similar to a high-speed maglev train or roller coaster.
On my way.
Just research and design on the electromagnetic aircraft launch system cost over $1 billion. Installing it on the USS Ford cost more than twice what it was supposed to.
Launching smoke!
The steam catapult system had thousands of moving parts. There are less than 100 moving parts on an electromagnetic catapult, so that was a big improvement.
Fewer moving parts means fewer sailors to operate and maintain. The smaller crew and new technologies were projected to save $4 billion over its 50-year run, compared to the previous class of aircraft carriers. The new system causes less stress on the planes, so they last
Dim beacon here.
and more types of aircraft can use it, including ones that are still being
player
designed.
standing. Spike planted.
Landing and takeoff
Team
are
ace.
easier on pilots too, since a computer does the work.
The pilot turns over control to the computer.
Anyone have
It
any
autopilots
spins? I
the
may have jammed
airplane
my
down to the
fingers.
carrier deck, and then when it hits
Multiple
that
fingers.
advanced arresting gear, it just smoothly brings it to a stop. So it's a dramatically different experience for the pilot. It's much safer, and then it's also going to make the airplane last.
Yes, my son.
The Ford's computerized systems allow both lighter and heavier planes to take off and land, something that limited older carriers. The Ford's combination of new technologies means that a wider variety of aircraft can land on it.
Smoke's
It's smoother
down.
arrestments for aircraft. That is our goal here on board for future of naval aviation, flying drones and F-35s.
Oddly enough, the new launch system can't handle the newest fighter plane, so the
Launching
Ford will
smoke.
need a retrofit to handle the F-35 stealth fighter. The next Ford-class carrier is under construction in the shipyard, but it's already being modified for the F-35 at an added cost of $315 million. Many of the Ford's delays can be traced back to politics. 5 American presidents over 2 decades weighed in on the planning and building of the Ford.
The Department of Defense made the aircraft carrier program far more expensive than it needed to be. And you can take that.
See ya!
So far, the true cost of building
Last
this
player
warhorse
standing.
is
Spike
$13.3
planted.
billion, a number that's increased nearly every year since construction began. Even the most basic of onboard functions can be eye-wateringly expensive. The ship has 750 toilets connected through vacuum pressure, like the system on commercial jets. When one toilet gets clogged, the whole system can be affected. The fix requires an acid flush that costs $400,000, and the Navy has
This is the most expensive fish in Japan. In January 2018, a kilogram of these baby eels cost around $35,000. That's more than bluefin tuna, and almost as much as the price of gold at the time. But catching these eels is just the beginning.
Smoke's down.
It can take a year of work until they're large enough to be sold. So what makes these eels so popular? And why are they so expensive? People in Japan have eaten eel for thousands of years. Restaurants like this can sell 40 to 50 tons of eel each year. Japanese eel,
standing.
or Anguilla japonica, can be found across East Asia. But overfishing and changing habitats have caused a huge
Spike
decline
planted.
in eel populations. Since 1980, the global catch of eel has declined by more than 75%, which has had a huge effect on price.
近年はとにかくその一年一年のうなぎの仕入れの価格差が非常にすごくて、平気で去年の3倍、また来年3分の1。
Team ace.
Unlike other types of fishing, the majority of eels are raised, not caught as adults. Young eels called glass eels are caught in the wild and raised on farms like this. No farms have been able to efficiently breed the eels in captivity, so farmers depend on the catch of young eels to make a profit.
ですね、この1年で育てている量は、年によっても違いますけど、だいたい30トンぐらいですね。15万匹か16万匹ぐらいです。
Raising this many eels requires constant attention.
Launching smoke.
Michio has been working as an eel farmer for almost 40 years.
うなぎの養殖に関してですけども、うなぎは決して強いとは思いませんし、何かそういった 病気とか事故とかトラブルがあったらもう本当に 90% 以上のブドウマリ率は維持できません。そういった管理、日々の管理というのが非常に重要になってきています。
After the cost of the eels themselves, feeding them is the most expensive part. 2 to 3 times a day, workers feed eels this. It's a mixture of fish meal, wheat, soybean meal, and fish oil.
15万匹確実に食べてくれるように努力しながら小さいうちに食べさせるっていうところが難しいですね。
Last player standing. Your duty is not over. So what I mean? Last player standing.
最初はそこから始まりますので、その時期は非常に気を使いますね。もうその一つの池が何か事故とか何かあれば全部終わってしまいますので。
After 6 to 12 months of work, eels are big enough to be sold.
We fight once again.
Workers unload the eels and sort them by size to determine where they'll be sold. Experienced workers can quickly tell the difference just by feel. Some of these eels will end up at restaurants like Serugaya, which has been serving eel for over 150 years. That high demand is part of the reason young eels are so expensive. The final dish is called kabayaki. It may look simple, but preparing it takes years to master.
うなぎのことわざっていうのがありまして、よく言われるのは串打ち3年、先8年、焼きは一生。
Workers prepare eel live to maintain freshness, but this makes handling much more difficult. Workers remove the bones and cut eels to the proper size for the skewers.
One enemy remaining.
焼きは一生。一生ってことは要するに死ぬまでかな。
Eel has to be constantly monitored while it's cooking to achieve even grilling.
やはり硬すぎず柔らかすぎず。
Chefs steam, then grill each eel 3 times, dipping it into sauce between each grilling.
実際の食べる美味しさ、それを両立させるっていうことが蓋を開けた時の、見栄えが美しい。
Kabayaki presented in a lacquer box with rice is called unaju. It can cost up to $91 depending on the price of adult eel. If prices are too high, restaurants struggle to make a profit.
うなぎの資源量に関してはやはり我々うなぎ屋さんみんな死活問題ですから非常にそれは皆さん考えていると思います。僕も当然そうです。
One enemy remaining. Spike down B.
In Japan, eels are eaten year-round, but consumption peaks in the summer, and it's become a big part of some local economies. But the high demand has caused concern. In 2014, Japanese eels were classified as endangered. And because of low domestic catch, the majority of eels eaten in Japan are imported from China and Taiwan.
やはり必要量よりも少ないと高騰してくる。高騰してきた時に生産者が、どういうふうな利益というをそれのバランスをどう取っていくかというのが非常に課題が大きいということになっています。
There have been efforts to improve the eel population, like regulating fishing, releasing adult eels back into the water, and researching how to hatch eels in farms. But the future of Japanese eels remains unclear, and the price is likely to increase with demand.
Spike down A.
Spike spotted A.
Prepare for hellfire!
This is Wagyu beef, one of the most expensive meats in the world.
You will not.
Produced in Japan and prized for its rich marbling and buttery taste, high-grade Wagyu can cost up to $200 per pound, and the cows themselves can sell for as much as $30,000. But what is it that makes the meat so expensive? The term Wagyu literally translates to Japanese cow, and it generally refers to 4 main breeds. These cows were bred for physical endurance, giving them more intramuscular fat cells. The fat is distributed more evenly throughout their muscle, which is why Wagyu beef looks pink and tastes so tender. And the Japanese government tightly regulates Wagyu production to protect the value and quality of the meat. Wagyu is graded on 2 main factors: how much meat can be yielded and the quality of the marbled fat. Only A3 to A5 Wagyu is certified for sale in Japan, and the higher the grade, the higher the price. Wagyu beef has gained almost legendary status, and there are many myths about Wagyu farms and the way the animals are treated, from getting daily massages to being fed beer, but these often aren't true. The cows are raised very differently in each region and by different farmers, but they're often raised by a breeder until they're about 10 months old and then sold at auction to a fattening farmer.
On my way.
By the time the calves are sold at auction, they can already fetch 40 times the price of US cattle. The fattening farmer will keep the animals in small pens and feed them a mixture of fibre and high-energy concentrate made from rice, wheat and hay. They're often fed this 3 times a day for almost 2 years, until the animals are almost 50% fat. Only the pregnant cows and breeding cattle are allowed to graze on pasture. The length of the fattening process and the import prices of the huge amount of concentrate increases the cost of feed. And over this fattening period, each cow will eat 5 tons of feed. If and when a cow goes to auction, it can sell for as much as $30,000. Comparatively, Black Angus cattle, which are considered the cream of the crop in countries like the United States and Australia, typically don't sell for more than $3,000. And depending on the kind, the Wagyu can fetch close to $200 per pound. High marbling is the common goal, but the approach varies by farm and area. While there are more than 300 varieties of Wagyu available, the most notable cuts come from 10 regions. One of the most expensive cuts is Matsusaka Wagyu from Mie Prefecture. Made exclusively from virgin female cows and highly prized for its tenderness. In 2002, one Matsusaka cow sold for 50 million yen, or roughly $400,000. However, the best known cut of Wagyu is Kobe beef, which comes from the city of Kobe in Hyogo Prefecture, and is made exclusively from steers or castrated bulls. Although Kobe is commonly seen on US restaurant menus, customers should be wary of items like Kobe burgers, as authentic Kobe beef is too tender to be formed into a patty. Several US restaurants are actually serving hybrid Wangus beef, from domestically raised Wagyu and Angus cows. The highest ranking Wagyu is A5 Miyazaki, a 2-time winner of the Wagyu Olympics. A5 Miyazaki will cost you $100 or more per pound. At Sakamai in New York City, it's the Wagyu of choice. The restaurant is best known for serving it in an $85 katsu sando, a popular Japanese-style sandwich.
On a busy night, we probably serve about 25 of them at $85 a pop. Because Wagyu is so difficult to find in the US, yes, we do have a number of customers coming to us just to try the Wagyu.
30 seconds left. One enemy remaining.
There are a lot of tariffs and quotas on Japanese beef imports, and it's actually not allowed to import live cattle, so it is very difficult to source Wagyu.
So is it worth it? We decided to have our team give A5 Miyazaki Wagyu a try.
Last round in the half.